How's it going, everybody? Thank you very much. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. Welcome to another classic movie review. This is my review of 1984's Ghostbusters from director Ivan Reitman, who directed classics like 1979's Meatballs, also directed 1981's Stripes, also starring Bill Murray, and many other films, movies like Dave and Kindergarten Cop and Twins, My Super Ex-Girlfriend and Evolution. Very sadly, Ivan Reitman, the director of this film, passed away February 12th, 2022. His son, Jason Reitman, who has a short cameo in Ghostbusters 2 in a scene opposite Ernie Hudson and Dan Aykroyd, nowadays is a very respectable filmmaker, directing films like Up in the Air and Juno, and is keeping the Ghostbusters legacy alive after directing 2021's Ghostbusters Afterlife, a movie that I really enjoyed, but then they followed it up with the sequel that came out earlier this year that I didn't enjoy all that much, to be honest. But at least we have the original. This comedy classic stars Dan Aykroyd, the late great Harold Ramis. You got Ernie Hudson, Sigourney Weaver, Rick Moranis, of course, the great Bill Murray. The film was written by Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd after Aykroyd had read this article in a magazine about parapsychology and thought, wouldn't it be cool to make a movie based on all the old school ghost comedies that they watched back in the day and just apply like the real science to it. Originally, the part of Dr. Peter Venkman was written for and supposed to be played by Animal House, Blues Brothers, and Saturday Night Live star John Belushi, but after his fatal overdose on March 5th, 1982, everything kind of changed and they had to switch gears and the part was offered to Bill Murray. Honestly, as a movie fan, whenever I rewatch Ghostbusters, every now and then I catch myself wondering what Belushi would have been like as Venkman had he lived to play the part. However, it really is hard not to separate Bill Murray from this character by now, since by now he really is the embodiment of Venkman, and really hard not to think about him as Venkman even when you watch other movies when he's not playing Venkman. If you're someone that hasn't seen this movie because maybe you feel like it might be for kids, since the newer movies do feature an all kid cast pretty much with a little bit of the OGs in there, but not enough really. Yeah, you should give the original a shot. It's more of an adult kind of movie, even though kids love it because it's a lot of fun. So much fun, in fact, that they came out with an animated show not long after this movie came out. And that cartoon series is awesome. Grew up on that show. Matter of fact, I watched the cartoons before I ever knew there was a movie and saw the movie and thought, oh shit, they made a movie of my favorite cartoon. But yeah, Ghostbusters was a great gateway into horror. One of the reasons why, for me, this is one of the most rewatchable movies of all time is whenever I rewatch this, I can just tell that the actors had a lot of fun while making this movie, and that fun really kind of transmits outward to the audience, and it's really infectious. And they do it all the while telling this story and adding all this great lore with the ghost mythology. Sigourney Weaver is great in this as Dana Barrett. There are some scenes in this movie that scared the shit out of me when I was a little kid, and as an adult, I still think they're pretty creepy and very well done. Like when she's like floating on the bed and very creepy voice, Zool is talking and she's sitting in this chair and all these arms come out. Very creepy moment if you're a little kid. Rick Moranis in this film as the character of Louis Tully never fails to put a smile on my face whenever I rewatch this. Every time I watch this movie, I always look forward to his scenes because his scenes are some of the funniest in the movie. In the movie, he plays this nerdy little lawyer guy who throws a party, ends up being a victim to one of the big scary ghosts in the movie. Apparently, before Rick Moranis accepted the part of playing Louis Tully, it was offered to the late great John Candy, who could have played the part but ended up turning it down. And you gotta wonder what Candy would have done with that part because you knew it would have been great, since Candy's always funny. But worked out either way because Rick Moranis is perfect for the part. Ernie Hudson is also great in this movie as Winston Zeddemore, the fourth Ghostbuster who ends up joining the team about halfway through the movie. He's at first a bit of a non-believer, but as long as there's a steady paycheck in it, he'll believe anything you say. And yeah, there's so many great lines in this movie. You gotta love the Bill Murray stuff in this. He has some really great moments, especially in the mayor's office. The writing is so good in this movie, not just the dialogue, but even when they don't stick to the script and they just start improvising, because there's a lot of that going on in this movie, which is why there are so many little small moments of comedy that feel very real, very grounded in the situations. Whenever there's like, plot or exposition going on, they always manage to insert some little bit of comedy and a little bit of humanity in everything. Whenever you hear dialogue in this movie that feels very improvised, it's usually coming out of Bill Murray's character's mouth. And watching this, it really looks like he's just having a blast playing this part. And speaking of a blast, the special effects are pretty good for 1984. They were done by Richard Edlund, who worked on the Star Wars movies, and so they hold up pretty well. The music in this movie from composer Elmer Bernstein is some of the most memorable music you'll ever hear in any movie. Elmer Bernstein composed some of the greatest pieces of music for some of the greatest films, for movies like The Ten Commandments. He also did True Grit. He did To Kill a Mockingbird, The Great Escape, Cape Fear. Did a lot of comedies too, movies like Airplane, and he also did Stripes and Three Amigos, and he also did Animal House. And yeah, the music in this movie is awesome. Of course, you got that song from Ray Parker Jr., that classic song that we hear every October at every Halloween party. The chemistry between the Ghostbusters and everybody in this movie is through the roof. You can tell that everybody in this movie, they were friends and hung out behind the scenes and stuff. And watching the movie, it's apparent. You can tell that these people really did have that kind of shorthand, and it really shows through the comedy. And yeah, this is a movie that I do recommend anybody that is getting into spooky movies at a young age, or even if maybe you've written this off because maybe you saw the newer ones and you thought, oh, those aren't for me. Nah, check out the original. This is a movie that is for people of all ages. There's humor in there for younger audiences, there's humor for adults. 1984's Ghostbusters is a classic of the 1980s. It is a 4-star movie. If you haven't seen, I do encourage, check it out. Yes, this is my copy right here. I have this thing that has the first 2 movies, 1 and 2. And yeah, I enjoyed the second one. Come at me if you hate it. Sorry, but I enjoyed it. I was like 5 years old when I saw it in the theater. So yeah, I do like part 2, and one day I will talk about it in its own video. But for now, yeah, 1984's Ghostbusters, the greatest Ghostbusters movie ever. Thank you all very much for watching this classic movie review. I very much appreciate it. If you're into this kind of thing, if you're into the classics, if you're new to the channel, hit the bell, become a subscriber. Please don't forget to comment, share, like, always helps out the channel. If you're a returning viewer, thank you very much for your support. I always appreciate it. Everybody take care of each other. Peace out. Till next time, God bless.